Star Wars The Force Awakens. Boy, oh boy, I remember the huge hype for this film 2 years ago. I saw it in theaters 3 times. And because of the premiere, I even bought this hat because of it. I was prepared for the worst because I was worried this film would suck, just like the prequels. I was completely proven wrong and blown away into the outer rim. This is one of the best movies of all time. Yes, I strongly mean that. It's not that I'm blind. It's not that my mind is closed. It's that I have an open mind, and I eye like a hawk for the positives and the negatives. My ears, my eyes, my everything is trained enough to know what makes a good Star Wars movie. Which, by the way, I don't think it's a coincidence that the first line in the film is,
"This will begin to make things right."
And it definitely felt right. This is going to be a format of a What I Like About video, and this will be my second What I Like About video after nearly a year of absence and a review. I'm going to explain in full detail why I love this movie to death and why a lot of flack this movie tends to get is highly dumb as fucking piss. This will warrant into being a What I Like About video, fitting into the series since this is a movie that tends to get a lot of flack that I'm going to debunk later in this video. I would review the original trilogy, but I just felt like I needed to get on with The Force Awakens like right now because I don't want to wait until The Last Jedi gets released.
What I like about you, you hold me tight. Tell me I'm the only one, wanna come over tonight. Yeah, phone whispering in my ear. Tell me all the things that I wanna hear, 'cause it's true. That's what I like.
Yeah, Star Wars The Force Awakens is fucking awesome. If you don't like what I have to say about the movie, and if you remotely think about using the true fan card on me, you can take your lazy and incompetent complaints and
shove it up your ugly ass! You heard us right, shove it up your ugly ass!
I don't fucking need you around if you're gonna be fickle about Star Wars fans, let alone Star Wars films. It's not your place to be fan king about anything if you're just gonna fake fan label people just because they simply don't agree with your bullshit distaste or taste, let alone dealing with one of the most popular, beloved franchises that tends to get flack just because of the name attached to it. Sorry, I slipped the tongue right there for a second. That kind of happens when when you have too much to say. Let's go over the negatives first, then we'll get to the positive stuff. Captain Phasma. She was horribly wasted. Boy, was she hyped to death. Everyone thought she was going to be an amazing character. Everyone loved her. But then you saw the movie and she did absolutely nothing in the entire film. Kind of disappointing, but meh. I wasn't too excited about that character anyway. I just wanted the movie to be fun and emotionally connective. The soundtrack could have been a lot better too. The first track, I Can Fly Anything. Well, hold on. The first track, which happens to be the opening track in The Attack on Jakku, is what I meant to say. I Can Fly Anything, March of the Resistance, The Star Killer, Farewell on the Trip, Jedi Steps in Finale, and of course, Rey's theme. Or The Scavenger were the songs that stuck out for me. Probably because John Williams had an illness, but hopefully the score for the next installments are much better. Which John Williams' illness is probably the reason why it was a little more weaker than a lot of the previous Star Wars films. And of course, Also, the unexplained backstory of how the old lightsaber originally in Maz Kanata's hand after it fell God knows how far in Cloud City. You know, that old blue lightsaber that belonged to first Anakin, then Luke Skywalker. I would have loved to know the backstory of how Maz got the lightsaber, but then they rushed it away. That kinda annoys me, but I'm able to forgive it. I still would like to know how Maz got the lightsaber on Cloud City, though. In The Last Jedi. Hopefully they explain it, as I heard that she's going to return in The Last Jedi. Oh, and the super convenience of Rey saving Finn's ass from being eaten by a Rathtar. And Kylo Ren taking off his helmet while interrogating Rey. That kinda sorta felt out of place, but not entirely cringeworthy. Could have been a lot better if that was saved for the Han Solo death scene. See, I like a hawk for flaws. So do not act like the fans of The Force Awakens are blind to it, because we are not. At all. We call shit out when we see it. Alright, enough of the negatives. The opening of it has a beautiful shot. The planet or moon fades to black by the new Star Destroyer or Finalizer, then the transporters descend down onto the planet Jakku. The opening crawl does a good job of telling us who's good and bad. The First Order took inspiration from the Empire. The Resistance and Leia are in trouble by the sinister First Order, trying everything under their power to seek and destroy the Last Jedi, known as Luke Skywalker. Kylo Ren's theme. Well, it's nothing like the Imperial March. It's not as evil as the Imperial March, but it's still pretty damn cool and haunting for a villain that's about to land and intimidate his enemies to try to get what he wants. Well, at least unlike the prequels, we got a glimpse of who's evil and who's good this time. Thankfully, the beginning doesn't seem too vague whatsoever. Even if people who hadn't seen Star Wars before were to see this movie, they would get a crystal clear idea of who are the bad guys, and of course they are the First Order. Let me get this out of the way first. I find it interesting that a lot of people that were not fans of Star Wars in the first place even loved this movie, and a lot of women I know loved this movie to death as well, my mom included. She said it was like the best movie ever, and I was like, holy shit, is it really that good? Not to mention my youngest cousin, who was 7 years old, one time told me, how could anyone have any problems with The Force Awakens? The Force Awakens was awesome. The girl knows her stuff. As soon as I heard even casual fans or people who were not fans at all loved this movie, let alone women loving it as well, I knew it was going to blow me away. And boy, it really did. And a lot of people are going to give me this anyway, so I'm just going to debunk it right now.
But Alex, she's a kid. She's not going to think critically of The Force Awakens. She just assumes whatever she sees is good.
Like you assume that The Force Awakens is bad just because it's apparently just a remake of A New Hope? Like you're lazy thinking, buddy? Because whatever the internet says is true to you? Is the internet only true if it supports what you believe or something? Besides, in all seriousness, one of her critics of the movies that they didn't tell us enough about Rey's family. But of course, that's one of the good things, because it makes us more curious about her character. I mean, you're supposed to want more. So please, take you and your puny, lazy little brain and lazy thinking out of here. And leave us the fuck alone. I'll say you are a critical thinker once you knock it off with the lazy thinking with the whole it's a New Hope remake, Ray's a Mary Sue, Kylo Ren is an emo, even though I only heard of a Mary Sue 1 hour ago. Nonsense. Which I am going to talk about later in this review, as I do not want to repeat myself too much. Anyways, back to the movie. The introduction to Rey's character was brilliant, scavenging parts off fallen ships from the Battle of Jakku 29 years ago, struggling to survive on the desert with the help of water and food, counting down the days she's been alone on the desert and surviving. That is pure Star Wars magic. A hero's journey starting from the bottom, lives inside a fallen AT-AT or AT-AT from the Battle of Jakku. I love that introduction so much. She is, in a good way, reminds me of Luke. Kind of humble at first, then just sort of grinding to get by. If you look really close at this scene right there, you can see Daisy really trying not to laugh when she says, "I never met a resistance pilot before." I always smile every time at that part. And then she lights up like a Christmas tree when Finn mentioned Luke Skywalker, finding it that the story of the Jedi and Luke Skywalker were not myths but true stories. I love the Falcon chase sequence throughout the graveyard of ships from the Battle of Jakku. Man, was it a blast to watch. I am always on the edge of my seat watching this scene, let alone the entire film. I honestly couldn't have handled it any better. You may think Rey is perfect with everything, piloting included, my bad. But if you watch Rey closely, she flies the Falcon really, 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 really horribly compared to every single character we've watched from the original trilogy, let alone compared to the 2 TIE fighters chasing after her. She never flew it, and she flew it like a rookie, like you would expect. That right there should give you a glimpse that Rey is not a Mary Sue. You obviously don't pay attention close enough to movies if you think Rey's perfect with everything. She flew the Falcon like the first time she was driving a dump truck. Or garbage truck, rather. Get it?
So much garbage! The garbage will do!
The introduction to the Millennium Falcon is great too. It just shifts slowly to the left when Rey said the garbage will do, right when the quad jumper explodes. They did not make a huge deal out of it. It's just a piece of stolen junk lying in the desert. Some people may wonder why it's stolen and lying in the desert. Well, the Falcon is not gonna be in the exact same place for 30 years after Return of the Jedi. There's got to be some countless stories in between the 30-year span, wouldn't you think? I would think it would convert to real life too. It takes place 30 damn years after Return of the Jedi. Of course it's not going to take place literally, meaning 1 year later, after Return of the Jedi. So please stop setting expectations too high. I absolutely love the camera shot of Rey and her land speeder while the camera is slowly shifting to the right, focusing on the fallen Star Destroyer while Rey's theme is playing. There's a lot of beautiful camera shots in this film. It's one of those things that makes this film so lovable and enjoyable. The escape sequence with Finn and Poe escaping the Finalizer or Star Destroyer was beyond amazing too. Their interactions and friendship is absolutely believable, and I know Jeremy Johns said something like similar in his review, but J.J. Abrams managed to make a friendship believable in 3 minutes, when George Lucas couldn't make the friendship between Anakin and Obi-Wan close to relatable and believable in 3 movies. After comparing both of them, it just makes the Anakin and Obi-Wan friendship look even more boring as watching paint dry. Maybe even more fucking boring than listening to Hawthorne Heights music. I love Finn's moral in the movie. Helping a less fortunate Poe because it's the right thing to do. You don't need a reason to help anyone. He doesn't want to work for evil terror in the galaxy anymore. He cares about the people more than the power. And before anybody says his defection doesn't make any sense, a glimpse was already given to you when Phasma yelled at Finn for taking off his helmet.
7. Submit your blaster for inspection.
Yes, Captain.
And who gave you permission to remove that helmet?
I'm sorry, Captain.
Report to my division at once.
That should have already hinted that stormtroopers were that possessed they can't take off helmets without their permission. You can feel what's going on in his head and what he's feeling even behind the stormtrooper helmet. He doesn't want to work for the evil. When his friend Slip died, he felt like there was nothing for him left in the First Order. Poe and Finn's enthusiasm when escaping the First Order immediately got me hooked onto this film. I thought this inside my head as soon as they were yelling in excitement. Holy fuck! I'm watching a real Star Wars film this time. Star Wars is back from the dead. The introduction to Han Solo and Chewbacca was brilliant too. A strange ship hovers over the Millennium Falcon, and Rey and Finn think it's the First Order, so they try to unfix the gas problem when strange noises were at the door. You thought they were going to be stormtroopers, but then you got the huge surprise it was more than that. It was Han and Chewie.
Chewie, we're home.
It's hard not to get chills at that quote. Even the Han Solo and Chewbacca felt nostalgic when they finally entered the Falcon again. I also thought it was brilliant how they handled the interactions between Kylo Ren and General Hux. Both of them are acting like coworkers debating what to do and get their job and tasks done. Kylo Ren behaving stern like a manager, like he doesn't want a single mistake from anybody. I thought it was kind of funny and neat. I love the dogfight air assault on Takadona. Especially when the Resistance entrance to the combat looked like a tsunami for a few seconds, then Han Solo says,
It's the Resistance.
"There's no need to fear. The Resistance is here to kick some ass." Oh, and fun fact, this is the first time in a Star Wars movie we saw X-Wing versus TIE fighters on the planet's surface rather than in space. And about Poe's character, well, let's let Finn tell us about him.
That's one hell of a pilot!
You got that right, Finn. Got 13 kills in 16 seconds. Admit it, you never saw that much ass-kicking in any Star Wars film before, other than Darth Vader's rage in Rogue One. Luke, Wedge Antilles, Han Solo, and Lando never kicked that much ass before in the original trilogy. Remember in A New Hope, Obi-Wan said Anakin was the best star pilot in the galaxy? Poe Dameron now steals the throne. The Force Awakens told us a better story about Poe than they did about Anakin. Not just in pilot terms either. Sorry, prequel fanboys. But Anakin's spinning is not a definition of badassery. Good try, though.
I'll try spinning. That's a good trick.
And about the TR-8R, or traitor rather. It's pretty damn cool to see a stormtrooper this time using a melee weapon, let alone a new spin on things. and kicked Finn's ass no less in less than 15 or 10 seconds flat. Boy, when BB-8 gave Finn the thumbs up later, the entire audience exploded in laughter. That was hilarious. Thankfully, the humor was used appropriately. This movie hit all the right notes. Compare that to all the nonsense with Jar Jar Binks. The humor in The Force Awakens is so good, you can't even compare a fraction of it to the prequels. The Force Awakens is a huge masterpiece, both as a standalone film and compared to the prequels. It's like Pulp Fiction compared to the prequels. General Hux's speech in front of the First Order before the Starkiller base fires upon the Hosnian system was beyond awesome. Perfectly portrays how evil the bad guys are to the audience, let alone the newcomers to Star Wars. Full of hate, anger, ruthlessness, fascism, and very Hitler-like. I'm not glorifying Nazism, by the way. I'm just complimenting how awesome it was for J.J. Abrams to convey how cold and evil the First Order is. I like the way they showed us the doomed people on the planet Hosnian Prime right before the planet explodes, watching their death slowly come to them as the terrified look on their faces. We never saw that on the planet Alderaan in A New Hope. Finn's acting when Rey is being kidnapped by Kylo Ren was fucking intense. When he screamed at the top of his lungs as soon as the First Order escapes with Rey kidnapped was great. John Boyega did an amazing job because I felt his frantic, upset, and terrified behavior within him. That's exactly how you should act in a film, never mind a Star Wars film. Have the skills to get the audience to feel your emotions. The Force Awakens was a perfect example for that. The scene where the camera zooms in on Darth Vader's burnt helmet while the mellow-toned Imperial March plays was great. And I hope I'm not the only one that could hear the ghostly Darth Vader breathing. Let's talk about the Starkiller base for a sec. I did roll my eyes, it was just another Death Star. That's the only copy from A New Hope that made me roll my eyes. But at the same time, J.J. Abrams tried a creative take on the Starkiller base. The entire orb isn't a space station, but rather a snow planet with a built-in superweapon that doesn't just blow up planets, but entire star systems by using the power of the sun. So even when it's a copy of the Death Star, aka Death Star 3, at least it's a bit of a creative take on it. I hope Episode 9 doesn't have Starkiller Base 2.0 though. However, the reasons Starkiller Base did not bother me because I was too invested into the characters to care about the Starkiller Base, let alone the huge similarities to A New Hope. The characters and story are the most important thing about filmmaking, and they handled it very well. So what alternatives can we have as opposed to another Death Star, you may ask? Maybe a Phantom Fleet, just like in the video game Star Wars Rebel Assault 2? Maybe an artificial black hole? I'll let you decide. Oh, and one other thing. I love how in the control room scene they compared the size of the Starkiller base and Death Star. And Han Solo says, "So, it's big." Like, the movie knew everyone was going to respond negatively to it, so then they're like, okay, we get it, it's another Death Star, here's us comparing the size of both of them.
It's another Death Star.
I wish that were the case, Major. This was the Death Star. And this is Starkiller Base.
So it's big.
Now let's talk about Maz's castle. I don't really have too much to say about it other than that the crew for The Force Awakens did a great job with those practical creatures. I actually thought this monster right there was CGI for a second. I didn't know whether or not it was a real-made practical creature. They're that good. The sets look absolutely real, and thankfully we, for the most part, moved away from the overwhelming CGI orgy environment. Yes, I know CGI was used a lot in this film, but get this, it was appropriately used. Actors, this time, know what to look at. They know their surroundings. It prevents a 2-hour-long bore fest with characters that have personalities of paper bags. I'm looking at you, prequels. Us Star Wars fans wanted a feel of the original trilogy with some new mixed into it, and that's what The Force Awakens did. A lot of fans will deny it and overlook it, but the truth is, despite the story being too similar to A New Hope, it still just gets it in a way we've never seen before. Star Wars The Force Awakens is not the first Star Wars movie, let alone film, to parallel another story heavily. Do I need to go any further? Moving on. However, though, J.J. Abrams may have shown us some unnecessary practical creatures and sequences here and there, but at least he didn't do it in an effort to force humor or unintentionally make us cringe like hell or get us completely taken out of the story. J.J. Abrams is nothing like George Lucas directing the prequels, and neither of them are like Michael Bay. Let's get that out of the way. During Rey's vision, if you listen closely, you can hear Obi-Wan Kenobi from the original trilogy say Rey. They used one of his lines from the original trilogy and chopped it up and make it sound like he was saying Rey. Then the Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan Kenobi, after Rey's vision, said, "These are your first steps," which led to a lot of people making theories that Rey might be a Kenobi. I'm not going to go too deep into the theories, so I'm just going to wait till The Last Jedi. Han Solo's lines. Oh my goodness. Need I say more? If you think the humor in The Force Awakens was too kiddish, then you must be watching the wrong movie. Han Solo's lines in this movie was fucking hilarious. They had the humor where it was appropriate to use, like I already mentioned. Now here are my top 5 favorite Han Solo lines from The Force Awakens.
Same thing I always do, talk my way out of it.
Yes, I do. Every time.
So it's big.
Watch the thrust. We're going out of here at light speed.
From inside the hangar, is that even possible?
I never asked that question until after I've done it.
This is not how I thought this day was gonna go.
Sanitation? Then how do you know how to disable the shields?
I don't. I'm just here to get Rey.
People are counting on us. The galaxy is counting on us.
Solo, we'll figure it out. We'll use the Force.
That's not how the Force works. Oh, really? You're cold?
Come on.
Ha! And people said there was nothing to like about The Force Awakens. Joke's on them. This is grade A Star Wars. Classic Han Solo. Now let me play 2 other hilarious lines from the movie that were not from Han Solo.
So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first.
Need I say more how funny this movie is? In a good way, at least? Now let's talk about how fun the last Han Solo line and sequence is. It's funny because Han Solo is frustrated with Finn that he was only a sanitation at Starkiller Base before becoming a soldier. And then when Finn says he's not here to lower the shields and only here to get Rey, Han Solo sounds frantic by saying that the people are counting on us. The galaxy is counting on us. It's so fucking realistic and hilarious. It's exactly how I would feel if my friends or whatever were brain dead during a disaster. Now let's talk about the interrogation scene. What a groundbreaking way to show us a new way a Force-sensitive user can now Force read someone's mind. Kylo Ren Force reads Poe's mind to get information where the map is, then finds out it is in BB-8. Kylo Ren Force reads Rey's mind to find out where Luke is on the map, then Rey has the Force awakening within her, then tries resisting. She knew about the Force, she just didn't know it was with her or how to tap into it, which is another step of me telling people why Rey is far from being a Mary Sue. To quote Sam's channel, it's mind wrestling, a Force one-off. Rey reads Kylo's mind and then scares him by saying he will never touch the skills of his grandfather, and then, as soon as Rey finished her sentence, Kylo Ren stopped right there, and it makes you think how cowardly Kylo Ren can be compared to Darth Vader. It's not really because Rey is a master of the Force. I also thought it was a great idea to how Han and Leia have a separated marriage. That gives you a hint of how they were toxic prior to The Force Awakens, or even a little before Kylo Ren turned to the dark side. They could have cheesed it up and had Han Solo and Leia be the most happy, sappy, loving couple in the movie, kissing each other nonstop, but instead, it's separated and complicated marriage between the two. Especially even more complicated after their son Kylo Ren, also known as Ben Solo, turned to the dark side. I didn't expect Kylo Ren to be the son of Han and Leia, but hey, Kylo Ren didn't just appear out of the blue, so it's not a stupid twist at all. J.J. Abrams, I don't know why people give you bad credit, but whatever their standards are, they are beyond lazy and limited. It's good how they didn't direct Oscar Isaac as Poe to be pissed off at Finn, or have Poe and Finn be pissed off at each other. Poe is stoked that Finn completed his mission. They're still friends. Poe has Finn's full trust because he saved his life. The interaction between Poe and Finn was so awesome, I just wish there was more Poe in the movie. And that's how I should feel. It tells you how great his character is if you badly wanted more of him. And then Leia praises Finn for making a bold move by rescuing Poe and deflecting from the evil First Order. It's great to see that Leia has an appreciation for a stormtrooper wanting to become a better person and join the good side for the greater good. They would have had every single Resistance soldier look at Finn like he has two heads, considering he's an ex-stormtrooper. But since he saved Poe, the best star pilot in the Resistance, from the First Order, they decide they have no reason to be hostile towards him. The movie could have made it terrible by having every single character in the control room denounce Finn. But it was already enough with Rey doing it to Finn on Jakku. Oh man, when Kylo Ren gets pissed, damn it is awesome and fun to watch. Choking his officer, smashing the interrogation device, then the two stormtroopers were like, nope, then walk away. That was beyond hilarious. Yeah, I know, it's a temper tantrum, but it can be overlooked with those two stormtroopers being like, nope, nothing to do here. It's really funny. Then Kylo Ren forcing Rey into a tree to avoid getting shot again after Chewbacca shot him in the chest and out of unstable emotions. And then when he screams, "Traitor!" at the top of his lungs, yikes. Adam Driver's awesome acting is so off the charts. I can definitely feel his anger within the movie. Han Solo's death was so well done. As soon as he started walking on the catwalk to talk to his son like a father to try to seduce him back to the light, I kind of knew he was going to die. The acting, the execution, the effects, everything was so well done. Kylo Ren cries because it was paining him to kill his father just so he can pass Snoke's test for the Knights of Ren. Remember, Snoke earlier in the movie said this:
"Even you, Master of the Knights of Ren, have never faced such a test.
By the grace of your training, I will not be seduced."
So Kylo Ren tries to avoid getting seduced back to the light by killing his father. Then the heartbroken look on Han Solo touches Kylo's face as a sign he still loves him and knows that it was Snoke that made him this way. Kylo Ren, now feeling down and not caring that what was going to come towards him in a few seconds, which was Chewbacca's laser bullet. And then Chewbacca going on a killing spree and rampage and massive anger about his friend dying was beyond amazing. That kind of resembles Anakin going on a killing spree in Attack of the Clones. Though The Force Awakens is a hell of a lot better than Attack of the Clones, at least The Force Awakens actually shows the scene and doesn't cut to video game characters. Rey crying, screaming no, and Chewbacca's loud roar was heartbreaking too. We all felt their pain when Han Solo died. Someone you've emotionally connected with all these years you've been living as a Star Wars fan will no longer be part of the franchise. And as soon as you saw it, you couldn't help but want to cry really hard and feel heartbroken. Chewbacca's roar and Rey's sad emotion made it even more sad. It's brilliant how the sky nearly blacks out as soon as Han Solo is about to die. It's an oh shit moment. Not to mention it totally fits the tone of this scene. I think it's trying to tell us that Star Wars has faded to black now that Han Solo is dead. Or that this is a dark time for Star Wars fans. That was beyond brilliant. This is one of the things that tends to get overlooked, even by the biggest fans of the film. And now onto the lightsaber fight. My fucking Dio. This is one of the best lightsaber fights I ever saw in cinema history. Yes, I fucking mean it. I'm not on drugs. I'm not smoking anything. I'm not stupid. I'm not brain damaged. I'm not suffering mental illness. I'm not drinking any alcohol. I fucking mean it! It was one badass and emotionally investing lightsaber fight. Emotionally conflicting, raw lightsaber fights is what gets me invested. And this is definitely one of them. As soon as Kylo Ren screamed traitor, god damn, the look on Finn's face was steep. He doesn't care what his former faction thinks of him, and he doesn't care and never wants to work for the evil terror in the galaxy anymore. And since Kylo Ren and the First Order caused so much pain to the galaxy, and since Kylo Ren killed his own father, Finn decides to take on Kylo Ren in a lightsaber fight, and then Kylo Ren toys around with Finn, beats on his wound to keep the dark side within him, and then kicks Finn's ass and slashes his spine. Then the next part, I got the big chills. Kylo Ren struggles to force pull the lightsaber out of the snow, then it flies right across his face and lands in Rey's hand. Now, before anyone says that Rey is stronger than Kylo Ren or that Rey is a Mary Sue, the lightsaber calls to her. Maz Kanata even mentioned it earlier, not to Kylo Ren. It was established by Maz Kanata earlier in the film. The burning homestead track from A New Hope, when the lightsaber lands in Rey's hand, even made the scene better. And then Kylo Ren seems to be having the upper hand by a landslide against Rey. Rey was seemed to be fleeing away from Kylo Ren a lot because she was letting her fear take control of her. She knew she had to do it, but her fears were getting the best of her around the first part of her fight. She knows Kylo Ren is more trained than she is and is afraid that she'll get her ass handed to her. She then later controls her fear by giving into the Force that Kylo Ren reminds her of. The dark side of the Force, no less, which is exactly what Kylo Ren wanted to happen, which is also why Kylo Ren decided to hold back harming her. The shot with Rey and Kylo Ren struggling while the peak of Kylo Ren's lightsaber was touching the snow while the Force theme plays, no less, was fucking awesome too. It gives me chills. Like I said, a lot of beautiful shots in the film and a lot of scenes in the movie give me chills. Also, I'd like to add that John Boyega's acting when the crossguard blade gets impaled into his shoulder was spot on. It feels like I'm in a realistic Star Wars film because of that kind of acting. This guy knows what's happening to him in the film. When I watched behind the scenes videos, the lightsabers actually lit up like the Force FX lightsabers. The snow and tree backgrounds are actually practical, which astounds me because I couldn't tell if they were CGI or real. It's that great. Even though there was some blue screening going on, there was still practical trees and snow within the scene. It was spot on. Rey's anger towards Kylo Ren at the start of the fight was great too. Well, not at the start of the fight, but as soon as she tapped into the Force. But also at the same time, as soon as she was gonna pull out her blaster and try to shoot Kylo Ren, both Rey and Finn are pissed off at Kylo Ren for killing Han Solo, who was close to them throughout the film. When Kylo Ren says, "It's just to us now, Han Solo can't save you," that also hit me really hard. Because we now have these new characters left after a classic character was just killed off and will no longer be a part of the franchise. I'm so glad it was not over-choreographed either, like the prequels. It would have taken me out of the film. Actual realistic sword fight, not some cartoon dance-off. The escape from Starkiller Base scene also gave me chills too. Chewbacca comes at the last second to help an injured Finn and vulnerable Rey, and then take off the exploding Starkiller Base. And when the shot of the Starkiller Base exploding while the Force theme plays, I know I already said this millions of times, but once again I got the chills. It's a beautiful shot once again. Yeah, I know. Starkiller Base is another Death Star, but come on, you gotta admit that this was a beautiful sequence. There were a lot of beautiful sequences within The Force Awakens. I can't help but to get chills at a lot of them. That's what made The Force Awakens so goddamn awesome. I can't tell you how much I love this film. The chills awakens, that's all I could say. And now, since I've been throwing "this gave me chills, that gave me goosebumps" all over this video, let's talk about the one that gave me chills the most. One of the many reasons why I love this film to death. Rey traveling to Ahch-To to find Luke Skywalker, ascending up into the mountains, then the music ramps up when the camera shows the back of Luke Skywalker. Then Luke turns around and takes his hoodie off, then Rey takes Luke's old lightsaber and his father's before him out of her purse and hands it over to Luke, and then Luke gives a facial expression to show the audience just how much pain he's been out through the years he's been gone. If not his whole life, actually. If you do think about it, Luke has gone through pain his whole entire life. Suffering a life as a moisture farmer on Tatooine. Never knowing her real mother. A life he didn't want to live in the first place on Tatooine. Seeing the burnt corpses of his relatives, seeing his mentor die, revealing that the evil Darth Vader is his father, then Luke's Jedi Master Yoda dies, then Luke's father died. Then we got Luke's nephew betraying him. Rey finding Luke felt like seeing an old friend or an old relative you haven't seen in many years. This scene is so powerful, I cannot tell you how much I love it. It's so awesome. No words were needed in this scene. It's too strong for words. I think it almost made me feel more emotional than Han Solo's death. Keeping Luke Skywalker out of the film, but having him as the main plot driver of the film was a brilliant idea. Luke Skywalker disappeared, but there's a map that the main bad guys want, so they can find him and destroy the Last Jedi. The good guys then at all costs protect him and maintain hope and peace to the galaxy. The Force theme when Rey and Luke stare at each other was a beautiful moment. I cannot tell you guys how many times I've listened to the Jedi Steps and finale track. It was so beautifully done. You would think that after leaving the film I would go absolutely fanboy apeshit about how awesome this film was, but I was actually incredibly speechless after I saw the film for the first time. There were more goosebumps on me than there were stars in the Milky Way galaxy. Hey, damn, does this get me excited as fuck for Star Wars The Last Jedi. Alright, I already explained well in depth of why I like this movie. Now it's time to debunk the flack. And boy, do I have a massive ton of shit to debunk.
Why would Rey not want to take part of Han Solo's job?
Because she cares about family that she thinks might return for her in Jakku. That family unfortunately won't come back, according to what Maz Kanata said later on in the film. But the point still stands.
Who trained Rey to fight with a staff as effectively as she does, given that A, she's an orphan with no friends or family, and B, she has never been in a battle, but is rather merely a scrap metal scavenger?
Dude, wander down to the poorest part of whatever town you're in and pick a fight with a mangy little mutt of a guy. The smaller the better. Once you're out of the hospital, you'll realize people who are forced to survive in the harshest environments don't train to fight. They learn the hard way and get really, really good at it.
Why is Kylo Ren evil?
I got a better question. Imagining if this is still some certain period of time between 1977 and 1980, why do you think Darth Vader is evil? Come on, dude. Why are you so desperate to find reasons to hate this film? You just secretly love it, don't you? So tell me, if you take Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi out of the picture, what did you know so much about Darth Vader?
R2-D2 Awakening makes no sense.
Well, I'm not an expert in droid memory systems, but when the most powerful Jedi in the galaxy tells his fiercely loyal droid to code and hide something, I'm pretty sure it gets coded, broken up, and hidden in places that programmers can't find. Oh, by the way, before you try to say that robots, including R2-D2 specifically, don't show emotions, how about you flash back to all the times where R2-D2 is fucking screaming when he's in danger?
Why is Rey upset with Finn stealing a jacket when she earlier wore property of a rebel fighter?
Are you that fucking stupid? The owner of the rebel pilot's helmet is fucking dead. Meanwhile, the jacket Finn is wearing is more relevant to a live resistance fighter. She stopped when she realized, or presumed rather, my mistake, that the jacket Finn was wearing belonged to a dead pilot until it was revealed that Poe was alive on Dakar. You are the laziest viewer I have ever encountered. Looking at you, Pawn Story Games.
Poe's disappearance felt convenient.
Finn was miles away, strapped into an ejector seat with a spent parachute strewn out behind him. Poe stated he woke up that night and didn't know where he was, probably strapped to another ejector seat. Here's a hint when it comes to watching movies. Use the parts you know to fill in the parts you don't know. That's not a writing lesson. That's a watching lesson. And it's not rocket science.
Kylo Ren is a whiny villain.
I honestly don't get the whole complaint. Never did. I don't recall Kylo Ren being in a shitty forced love relationship, then blame his master for every problem he is having and talking too much about his job and his job to his girlfriend, then later admit he slaughtered sand people. Kylo Ren smashing computers and shit is nothing like that. Even if he is whiny, at least the acting from the officers and stormtroopers reacting to Kylo Ren's anger was realistic, let alone hilarious. Mainly the two stormtroopers walking away. The officer flinched like it was actually real. If it were made like the prequels were, he would have just stood there with a bored blank expression. No flinch, no scared reaction, no nothing. There you go. There's the justification there. And then there's the whole,
he was trained by Luke Skywalker before he before he turned to the dark side, and he still lost?
Kylo Ren wasn't even trying to kill Rey, but I'll get to more of that later. But if you even pay attention enough, he clearly kicked Finn's ass. He could care less about Finn. Also, I don't see you raising an eyebrow about how Luke Skywalker should have won the fight against Darth Vader after his training with Yoda. If Kylo Ren was fresh and wanted to kill, Finn and Rey would be dead. It's that simple. He was emotionally unstable. He was one, what the fuck am I saying? Too focused on the fact that he just killed his own father to avoid being subdued back to the light. My mom and dad even noticed that Kylo Ren wasn't even trying to kill Rey when they were fighting, when they saw it in theaters. You guys and gals should have known that too. It should have been clear when Snoke even said this.
If what you say about this girl is true, bring her to...
Meaning, do not fucking kill her.
But Darth Vader wasn't trying to kill Luke, and Luke ended up getting his ass handed to him.
Unlike Rey, Luke was not using the power of the dark side to duel against Darth Vader, you fucking morons. Rewatch the fucking movies, you lazy pricks. That's part of why Rey won. She used the power of the dark side against Kylo Ren to win. Luke, on the other hand, in Empire Strikes Back, did fucking not. He was even told by Obi-Wan to not give in to hatred towards Darth Vader, which led to Luke being nicer in the fight than he could have been. So all of your bullshit excuses can fucking die a horrible death. God damn, you idiots almost gave me a brain tumor. Kylo Ren wasn't even that much of a powerful dark force sensitive user. While yes, he does have unique force skills such as reading other people's minds and stopping a force bullet in midair and holding people in place, that's nothing like Darth Vader force pulling 4 blasters out of rebels' hands. Snoke even said this in the movie.
Leave the base at once and come to me with Kylo Ren. It is time to complete his training.
Implying Kylo Ren isn't all that powerful. Maybe if Kylo Ren wasn't shot by Chewbacca's crossbow, wasn't emotionally unstable after doing something that was emotionally hard for him to do, wasn't trying to subdue Rey to his side, then maybe he would have won. Kylo Ren had at fucking all no time to get his act together. The duel took 5 minutes after Han's death, and 5 minutes is not fucking enough. Also, I don't recall Anakin in Episode 3 beating on his wound just to try to keep the darkness in him. In fact, I don't recall any wounds on Anakin prior to his duel against Obi-Wan. I don't at all recall Mace Windu trying to subdue Anakin back to the light in Episode 3. I don't at all recall Han Solo trying to kill Snoke, aka Kylo Ren's master. I don't recall Mace Windu being close to as a father to Anakin in the prequels. He was closer to Palpatine than Mace Windu. I don't at all recall Anakin trying to not kill Obi-Wan after Palpatine said to bring Obi-Wan to him. So no, there are no excuses at all.
But then Anakin wasn't emotionally unstable in Episode 3.
That's because Anakin had a struggle of being pulled to the dark side in the prequel trilogy in its entirety, unlike The Force Awakens, where Kylo Ren was being pulled to the light. He was trying to tell Padme things would be better if she was on his side because he thought he had the power to save anyone from dying. In The Force Awakens, it at all had nothing to do with that. Ben Solo was not trying to convince his dad to go to his side for power. He's more emotionally unstable than Anakin. After all, both of them lost the duels. Anakin's pulled to the dark side in Episode 3 finished. Meanwhile, Kylo Ren still had struggles being pulled to the light. Revenge of the Sith had massive inconsistencies. Okay, I already said it should not have been because of a vision of a relationship when Anakin was pulled to the dark side. It was rushed. He was just a fucking yes man to Palpatine all the damn time. Well, except for the Count Dooku scene. Unlike Anakin, Kylo Ren was not hungry for power and just and only to save a girl. In fact, he spared a girl just so he can save her for Snoke. Anakin thought everything would be fine when he learned the story of Darth Plagueis and thought he would save someone from certain death. Kylo Ren was not motivated like that. Enough excuses! There's a big difference between a flawed character with motivation and a character that's so awful he's a two-dimensional psychopathic asshole and completely fucks up the backstory told in the original trilogy.
Why does Finn help Pope escape even after Finn's friend died?
Finn wouldn't even know that was Poe, considering the village was dimly lit and the fact that Poe was hiding himself. Finn learned the terrible reality of war, that even his close friends were gonna die. FN 2003 was probably the only friend in the First Order he ever had. And after he was killed, he felt like there was nothing left for him in the First Order. He didn't want to do cold-blooded work for fascists, so he decided to help some helpless pilot that only wanted to protect the private information of the Last Jedi.
Why does a stormtrooper have blood on his hands when he was clearly shot in the chest?
Well, if you think about it, Pope was using some sort of marksman's rifle or sniper. And if you shot at any part of anybody above the hands or whatever, it can go everywhere all the way down to your hands and feet real fast. FN 2003 did die pretty fast. That shows he ran out of blood pretty fast. I get it's a little suspicious, but it's not a big deal whatsoever. Again, nitpicks don't stop me from enjoying a film. The same nitpicks are noticeable in A New Hope. Well, not the stormtrooper shot in the chest moment, but the point still stands. Like I said, if it's so similar to A New Hope, then it must have similar flaws A New Hope had, right?
Why didn't Kylo Ren force stop the bullet in midair from Chewbacca?
Because he was too emotionally unstable to fucking care what's going to him, like I said. Too focused on killing his dad to even give a shit about what Chewbacca was gonna fucking do. Ever thought of that? Can you even tell people's feelings by their facial expressions?
Too many coincidences.
There's many coincidences in A New Hope, too. C-3PO and R2-D2 bumping into Luke. Obi-Wan coincidentally finding Luke knocked out. The crew coincidentally finding the best pilot known as Han Solo in the cantina. The Falcon crew coincidentally finding the Death Star. The Falcon crew coincidentally finding Leia in the prisoner's cell block. Torpedoes conveniently launched into a small hole. I can go on, but you pointing out the inconsistent coincidences of The Force Awakens doesn't count as arguments. Coincidences happen. Get over yourselves. It happens in other movies like Back to the Future. Marty coincidentally bumps into his father in 1955. Kyle Reese coincidentally bumps into Sarah Connor in Tech Noir. Coincidences fucking happen. Get over it!
Lack of lightsaber battles.
Do you really care about storytelling at all? The characters in story are completely useless and not interesting if they're not explored or invested enough. Quantity of lightsaber fights don't measure how good a movie is. They should be reserved for extra special moments like Hello Greedo said in his Examining Lightsabers video. If you overuse them throughout these movies and make them over the top, it gets boring. Really boring. If you put action and lightsabers before story, heart, emotion, character, execution, and investment, then no one is going to take your criticism seriously. If we had like 8 lightsaber battles in this movie, our emotional connection with the final lightsaber fight where Han Solo's death built tension up to would not be the same.
Finn lying about being with the Resistance.
Because too much was going on with him. He was about to get his ass kicked by someone scavenging for a decade who, not to mention, trained herself at the staff for that long. But I'll get to more of that later. If Finn said he was with the First Order, aka a bad guy, Rey wouldn't be too keen on it, so Finn lies to save his reputation. I can sympathize with Finn in that scenario. Finn didn't get too open with Rey until they started to get closer and closer throughout the film.